Find a truck that delivers. The Chevrolet Silverado boasts an available multi-flex tailgate. That means
Hello, students, and welcome to ACCT 3323 MIS for Monday, December 6th. It is 4 p.m. Atlantic time. How's everyone doing out there? All 14 of you?
Tired, ready for assignments and exams to be over.
Yeah, I know, I understand. Ah! You could do one of those big screaming things, although maybe not in the microphone, right? Where you can release all of your pent-up energy and excitement. All right, so excuse me. Yeah, so welcome to class today. We have one more topic that I want to cover, or that we have to cover, I guess. And luckily, I'm also not feeling all that well today, so I'm gonna try and not make this a long-winded class, and sort of get to the main points of what we need to cover for this class. Excuse me. Let me just start off. See if there are any questions. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question about the SimNet stuff.
Sure.
For the purple belt, I thought like it says to get the purple belt, you need to complete all of the like let me try bits for all of the books.
Yeah, you have to how many? You have to take the test. You may have to take the test multiple times.
For the purple belt, there is no test.
Oh, black. That's black. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I've completed all of those, but it hasn't given me the certificate or anything. So I'm not quite sure how to do that.
Okay. So neither am I, because I actually don't deliver SimNet. McGraw-Hill does. Is there a contact number or an email that you can see in that SimNet, Kyle, that you might be able to reach out to? And failing that, I will get you an answer. I just don't know the answer if you don't have a contact person.
For sure. I think there might be a technical support, so I can try that.
Yeah, maybe just ask them, and if you don't get an answer, let me know. I know you're working on it, and you know, I think I have until December the 20th to send in your final grade. So you still have some time if there's any logistical issues in terms of getting me the certificate of authenticity or whatever that's required. Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, don't sweat it right now. All right, you had your systems development assignment was due on Saturday, so that's going to be graded this week. And I'll just mention again, you still have an opportunity to get some points, as Kyle was just mentioning with regards to SimNet. Yeah, if you haven't already started, it might be a little bit late now. It's December the 6th, and I think any certifications are required by December the 8th. If you're working on it and you still need a few days, that's fine by me. Maybe you might just want to let me know, though, that you are working on it. Maybe send me an email so that I know to expect that I'll have to review or look for your certificate. Okay. Wednesday, December 8th, we are going to be talking about the final exam. If you're in very early, when Maria was here, you might have seen the first page of the final exam. It was accidentally displayed on the screen. I don't know if you saw it, Maria, but you probably didn't even know what it was.
I didn't even see.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So yeah, so anyways, I have the final exam here. I'm not talking about it today, but I may talk about it in the context of maybe what subject matter I'm going to cover today. Excuse me. All right. Okay, so the last, let me go back to here.
Sorry, I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
For the IT project failures assignment, is that graded?
It should be.
Mine's not graded yet. I did not.
Well, that means you got a 0.
Oh, no.
Just send me an email and I'll check it out, but it was graded and the marks should be posted.
Okay, because I did not get anything, no feedback, not even a.
All right, so just send me an email because I won't remember. Send me an email. Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions out there? Nope. All right. Okay. So let me share my screen. Not doing that yet. Share screen. All right. Can you see this beautiful slide? You must know this inside out now, getting the right system right. Yes, one person?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, I just need one person. Then I know it's working. All right, so the last day we were touching on the outsourcing part of this last sort of getting the right system right model here. I think we've spent maybe the last couple of weeks actually going through the different parts of this, using it as sort of a foundation, if you will, for the last couple chapters that are in the class, in the course, chapters 8 and 9. Today we're going to focus, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the outsourcing down here, and then we're going to move on to the last part of the cycle, which is, you know, the conversion once you do decide to get a new system. So first of all, last day I did talk about cloud applications, and I referred to, hey, go back and look at the stuff that we did earlier in the course if you want to look at the pros and cons of cloud computing. So if you go to reading number 9, which I think I might have up here, right? So under reading 9, the pros and cons of cloud computing. So I would refresh myself with the pros and cons of cloud computing, what it is, how it works, why it might be good, why it might be bad. All right. So just make sure you put that in as part of your reading material for the final exam in terms of cloud computing, because as you can see here, it is one of the options in terms of outsourcing, right? So if you get a question in the final exams and it gives you a case scenario and it says, hey, what do you think we should do with our ERP? Should like we modify an existing package, buy one that is, or should we buy an ERP that's working in the cloud system or in the cloud? So you're going to need to know the advantages and disadvantages of each of those in order to be able to talk to them. So I'm just letting you know where you can find information on the cloud applications back in reading number 9. All right. Okay, what else? So the other thing I want to talk about is about the sort of avoiding the pitfalls or outsourcing pitfalls of outsourcing, the pitfalls of outsourcing. So couple of this is basically like risk management. Okay, so one of the things you don't want to do is if you are focusing on outsourcing is don't focus solely on the price alone. The price is just one aspect or one factor. You may have 10 or 12 different factors that you may be considering, but don't take the cheapest one. Okay, the cheapest one is not always the best option, especially for an organization and depending on the length of time in which you are planning to make this investment. Okay. It talks about using life cycle service contracts that occur in stages. Okay. So if you're buying a piece of software, say you're getting an ERP for your company, what's a good number of years to be inside or in that contract with an outsourced organization? I'm just asking for a random options here or choices. Or if you have one, maybe you can justify it. But what do you think might be a good length of time to be in a contract?
I would say no more than 3 years.
3 years is a really good number. Yep. Why would you say that, Donna? I'm gonna have to pick on you since you answered it.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think by the time you get everything up and running, you're probably 6 to 8 months in anyways.
Right.
Then you start utilizing everything, but then, you know, things are gonna change because
Right.
technology changes so quickly that by the time 3 years are up, you're either gonna have to update or improve what you currently have.
Yep. Okay, perfect answer. You don't have to do that question on the final. No, just kidding. So yeah, you want to use, you don't want to go beyond at least the basic life cycle of a system. So I would say, you know, 3 to 5 years is probably about the most, 5 at the most, that you're going to want to enter into a long-term contract with an outside supplier. Remember, depending on what it is you're outsourcing, you know, as Donna just alluded to, the technology is going to be changing. It could change from the system application. It could change on the networking. Could change in the call center, the support systems, and that kind of thing. So you want to make sure that you don't go too far beyond a normal life cycle of a software application, okay, or the development of information technology in itself. And I mean, as we've all been experiencing ourselves for the last 5 to 7 years, we see technology changes quite a bit. Okay. All right. Some of the other things, again, I guess, is yeah, using short-term supplier contracts, so don't go too far out. Thoroughly evaluate your outsource capabilities. Now, I touched on some of this in the last class. I think I talked about, you know, make sure you're getting a demo, get testimonials, ask for references. Make sure that you also look for references that they don't give you, the vendor or the supplier, because most likely they're going to give you the best ones. Okay, so if you're going to evaluate your outsourcers' capabilities, make sure that you get some references. The other thing is too, if you're going to be choosing a company that's going to be an outsourcer, depending on how much you're outsourcing, you probably want to be aligned with them in terms of your cultural fit. Also sort of maybe their sustainability programs, you know, what are their ethics, how are they, what is their track record in the environment. So if you're choosing an outside supplier for anything, you want to make sure that the relationship with that outside supplier isn't going to compromise your own business, or if there's like a bad news piece about a company that you're engaged with, that could impact your own reputation. So just make sure that you know who you're getting in. I was gonna say get in bed with, but I can't say that. Oh, I said it. But make sure you know who you're getting in business with. All right. All right. Let's see here. And what else did I want to touch on? 3 to 10, useful, getting someone. All right. So the last phase here that we want to talk about with the systems development, of course, if you are outsourcing, or even if you're doing it inside, it doesn't matter where you're doing it. But when you are moving to a new application, okay, so this whole thing, we've been talking about getting a new system, okay, new IS system solution. So the last part, no matter which methodology you're using, if it's in-house, if it's outsourcing, okay, what you have to do at the end, or not the end, but when the system is ready, the new one, you have to do a conversion, okay? Now, has anybody out there been involved in a systems conversion in any way, shape, or form?
So I've gone
Yep.
from, I deal with performance management for
Yep.
employees.
Yep.
And we've gone from one system of collecting data and reproducing it to a different system, but we used a vendor in both cases
Uh-huh.
to support. So we've changed from one vendor to another. And of course, that comes along with totally different systems. Look,
Mhm.
feel, how you actually provide the information to them, what actually comes out as a result of that.
Yep. Yep. Okay, good. All right, thanks, Donna. Right. So when you're involved in the conversion, so depending on what it is that you are upgrading in your new system, you could have hardware, you could have software, and you're going to have the data files, and you're going to have lots of documentation for procedures, and for training and those kinds of things. So a conversion process can take quite a long time, depending on the complexity of the system and the method of conversion that you choose. So what are the different approaches that we can choose for conversion? Okay, so we have these 4 conversion approaches that are primarily used or called the direct, the parallel, the phasing, and the pilot. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of these different conversion methodologies. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of them. And then we're also going to talk about them in the context of various criteria. Okay, so we're going to evaluate each of these systems based on the following criteria that you will need to know because it will be on the final exam. All right, so you need to know these 5 criteria and how to apply them to the different conversion methodologies that you may be proposing for an implementation of a system. Okay. So first of all, let's look at the direct conversion. Okay. So what does a direct conversion look like? So direct conversion, also called the plunge. I'm not sure what they call it in the book. I'm just going to see if I can flip over there quickly. Yeah, so the book calls it the plunge. So it's either called direct or plunge, but you know, they both pretty much mean the same thing in context of systems, right? So when you're doing a plunge or you're going direct, you're actually just cutting yourself off from the old system and you're going right in with the new system, okay? Now, that might sound like a pretty easy thing to do. You know, you're just ending one and starting up with another, but there are some advantages and disadvantages, or when it's appropriate or not appropriate to do this. Okay, so one thing is when it's appropriate when the old system absolutely has no more value. It's been so broken, you know, everybody's just looking forward to getting onto it, and also that the new system is so different in terms of way the applications have been processed or will be processed, that it has no value to like maybe try a parallel or another process where you do some sort of gradual phasing in of modules and stuff like that. Okay, so sometimes organizations, they wait a very long time to move to a new system, and when they do, their business processes have changed so much that the applications that they need are not even the same or in any way in terms of processes anymore. So that would be a good time to actually do a plunge or a direct conversion. Okay. Now let's look at these in the context of the variables, all right, of the different criteria. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the criteria first. Okay, so following evaluation criteria for the system's implementation and conversion: user acceptance. So user acceptance is talking about the comfort levels of users in working with the new system. So what might be some of the things that would dictate user acceptance in terms of their comfort level? What are some things that may have had to happen to get to this point?
They would want to be trained on the system.
All right. How about some training? All right. So if you were told to go, you know, tomorrow we're putting in a new system and you haven't received any training whatsoever, how productive or effective do you think you're going to be tomorrow when that new system is available? Okay. So user acceptance, the degree of user acceptance is going to depend a lot on how much training has been provided. What else may have happened before we even got to this point that the users may have a higher level of acceptance than they otherwise might not? How else might the users have been involved?
In the process of development.
That's right, in the process of the development. So the users have been included right from the beginning of this new application, okay? You're gonna have a lot more buy-in from the users because they feel like they're part of the process, part of the application, if you will, the development of it. And of course, now with the implementation, also called the conversion, they'll have a much higher comfort level if they've been part of the process the whole time along, okay? And then I would say one other thing for higher user acceptance is that if is there documentation? Is the documentation been written specifically for your own organization in terms of, you know, where the flow chart is and what are the processes, or what, you know, options do you use and how do you go through the options if you have documentation available for the user? Okay. All right. The next thing you look is riskiness. Okay. So riskiness is defined here as the damage done to a business should the new system turn out not to function correctly. Okay, so how risky is it if you're going from one methodology to another? So in this case here, we're looking at the old system to the new system, right? So what may be some factors in terms of the riskiness that we might be looking at? What's the risk? So the answer is it depends. Okay. So if you go hard and fast and you move right over to the new system and it fails and you have no fallback, right? Then the risk is much higher than it would otherwise be if you had done it in a different way, such as a parallel or a phased in approach. Okay. So going from old system to new system, the risks can be pretty high, given that you're not going back to the old system and it's just marching forward. Okay. The next thing I want to look at is costs. So what are the total costs in making the conversion? Okay. Now it says total costs in making the conversion. So over a period of time, okay, the costs can vary depending on the methodology that you use to do your conversion. Right. Now, in terms of looking at it on a spectrum from low to medium to high, you're going with the direct or the plunge method, your cost would anticipate it to be around a medium level. And the reason for that is mostly because if you're going from an old system to the new system, you've probably, or you should have done lots of training. Everybody should be very aware of the new system, how to use the new application, depending on where the application is being deployed, if it's multi-geographic locations, if it's multiple branches, if all of those people have been involved and they understand what the new system looks like and how to use it and how to process their transactions, then you shouldn't have a high or a large cost. You should have about a medium cost associated with doing a plunge or a direct method of conversion. The next one is the conversion time. Okay, so if you're going from a old system to the new system, do you think that your conversion time is going to be low, medium, or short, medium, or long?
Sounds like it would be short.
Yeah, it's pretty short. Okay, now it is shorter compared to some of the other methods here, as long as you have all of what I just talked about earlier in terms of having the new system ready to go and everybody is trained and they know what to expect tomorrow when they come in. Okay. All right, then the last thing we're looking at is operational feasibility. So that's described as the extent to which the operating environment permits the type of conversion. Okay. So what kind of operating environment might they be talking about there? Operational operating environment. Okay, so basically speaking to maybe the kind of the industry that you're in. Okay, how busy is your office? What risks are there in terms of, like, are your software applications customer facing or are they internal? So if you have applications that are customer facing, they're probably a lot more important than some applications that might be only for internal purposes. Okay, so your feasibility depends on what your environment looks like. So if we're looking at going from an old system right into a new system, okay, then if we're switching directly over there, then the feasibility, operational feasibility would be considered relatively high to the other systems. Okay, so let's look at this again now. The old system in terms of the different criteria. We got high in terms of the comfort of levels of users as long as they're trained. Okay, this is normally what you'd expect. The riskiness, should the new system not turn out, it can be high if there's no fallback. Okay? The cost is going to be around medium cost. Conversion time is going to be low to medium relatively to the other ones. And operational feasibility, operational feasibility is going to be on the high end of the scale. Okay. Now, Plunger Direct. All right. So I guess I should have, did I talk about these? Plunger Direct? Yeah, so main advantage to Direct, I didn't even speak of this, it would have helped you. It's inexpensive, and the main disadvantage is there's no backup system. Okay, so there's a high risk of failure, and the lose list system has been carefully developed and tested, which is basically what I just talked about. So there's the slide for it. The next one we talk about is the parallel conversion. Okay, so parallel conversion is, you know, they have the old system is operating at the same time the new system is. Now, of course, the new system's coming in at some later date. You don't have two systems running parallel forever. And then, of course, at some point, you just run with the new system. Now, why might we want to do a parallel system instead of going with the Plunger Direct? What might that, how that might be helpful?
So you have a fallback in case the new system doesn't work.
Yeah, you have a fallback. All right. Now, what about some of the, what about if this is an order entry system, okay, and you're operating an old system and a new system? So, you know, my data entry operators, they're already working 8 hours a day on keying in the orders. So how are we going to manage the labor or the human resources that are going to be required to run two systems at once? What are we going to have to do? Make them work 16 hours a day? Where else could they get human resources from?
Outsource it.
Yeah, they could outsource it. All right. So what they probably going to have to do is they're going to have to get some temps. All right. If anybody's ever worked in an office, I'm sure you know about temps. I've been a temp myself a long time ago for a month on an IT project. So, you know, you can be a temp and they'll bring you in and they'll train you, but you know, the contract's only temporary. So a lot of times if you're doing a parallel system, you'll bring in some new people, all right, and train them. Now, are you going to put them on the old system or the new system? Where would you want to train them?
The old system.
Okay, why would you want to choose the old system?
So that your new employees could get trained up on the new system.
Right, because you're not keeping the temps, all right? They're only coming in for a short period of time to help with the conversion. So you would put the new people that are there temporarily on the old system, and then you would have your your current people working on the new system. And also the new people are the ones who hopefully have been helping with the development of the software application throughout the process when we're moving to the new system. Okay. Now, what kinds of things, what can we do if we're doing a parallel run? What's the benefit of doing that?
You could see if the you could see if the new system works before like launching it fully.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You could see if it works. Now, by working, do you mean like if I'm processing, let's say I'm processing orders in the old system, shipping, maybe I got a whole ERP going in the old and in the new one. So some of the things that I could be doing is I could be running reports from the new system that I can check and make sure the totals or the GL entries that are going to be made into the general ledger are the same as they would have been in the old system. Now, depending on what my new system does versus my old system, some of the reporting may be different. So you have to make sure that you know what you're looking for if you're going to do a parallel run, to make sure you identify what are your checks and balances you're going to perform if you're going to run a parallel system. You don't want to just start figuring that out once the new system has been implemented. Okay. All right. So there's what the parallel system looks like. You can process transactions with both systems, compare the output, reconcile the differences, and make any corrections to the new system. Okay. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages? So the main advantage for a parallel conversion, it's going to be able to help mitigate a lot more errors and reduce the risk of converting to a new system, like in the direct or the plunge method. However, there is disadvantages because it's more costly. As I said, you have to hire temps, and you may have managers who are having to manage the conversion for a longer period of time. Conversions and systems development are not, unless you are actually in a software shop, these are not like the normal day-to-day operations that managers are involved in. So it can be very stressful if you're going to be doing a parallel run for a while, because there's a lot more work involved for your senior management. Okay. All right. Now let's look at it in terms of these criteria up here. I should just copy this slide, Control C. I'm going to put it down here. All right. Okay, now let's look at a parallel system in terms of the different evaluation criteria. Now, if we're running a parallel system, what do you think the range would be for user acceptance, the comfort level of working with the new system? Right. So I'm going to go with a medium, low to medium. And the reason is because they may not be trained. If we've got people already on the hired for the old system, okay, then the new people are, the current employees on the new system, okay, they may have some resistance if you're running a parallel run. One of the reasons you might run a parallel is because you may not have included the users in the development of the application. So user acceptance may be low to medium. The other thing is too, is that if people are at a workplace and they're moving to a new system, they're probably still going to be helping the people that you're hiring temporarily and maybe be training them on how to use the old system. And so the users themselves may become stressed about the fact that they feel like that they have more work than they normally would. So their acceptance of the new system is generally not as high as it would be if you went with like a direct conversion. Okay. What about the risk factor of going with a parallel? What do you think the risk is, low, medium, or high with a parallel run?
I think it's probably low.
It's very low, right? Because you've got two systems running at the same time. So if something happens with the new system, you're still running the old system. So it should not affect your customers, who are probably the most important stakeholder in this kind of a conversion process. Okay. What about the cost? I think the cost is of running two systems at the same time. Okay. So it's pretty high, right? You're gonna be running two systems, hiring new people to work on the old system. The current people are also gonna be helping people on the old system. Management's probably gonna be working lots of overtime, reconciling reports and making sure that the processes are, let's say, finalizing the numbers in the general ledger in both systems. So that's going to require more cost for probably with overtime and maybe with benefits. All right, the next thing is looking at the conversion time. So is parallel relative, say, to direct? How would you look at that versus direct if parallel system? Think that's the time is low or medium or a long time?
Medium to high.
Yeah, medium to high. That's what I would go with. All right. And then the last one, operational feasibility, the extent which the operating environment permits the conversion. So do you think the feasibility is the environment is going to permit the type of conversion? What's the operational feasibility? What's the risk there? Okay, so I'm going to go with the feasibility is probably pretty high because we're running a parallel system. So that there's a lot less, because operationally the operating environment, we're running a parallel, we'll have a lot less issues with the system. However, you may have more stress on your employees because of the exponential amount of work that they're used to doing. Yeah. All right, let's look at parallel. The next one is going to look at the phase-in conversion. Okay, so phase-in looks like this. All right, so phased in, old system, new system. Okay, phase-in system. So phase-in gradually replaces the elements of the old system with the new one. The new system is phased in one module at a time, and a main advantage of that is that the data processing resources can be acquired over time. So if you're moving into a new system, so let's say this is probably used a lot in, it may be used in an ERP such as SAP, because what you can do with SAP, one of the ways you can buy it is that it's modularized. So you can, a modularized system is really good, is a good one to be using the phased-in method over time, so you're doing each of the modules until finally you have a whole new system. Data processing resources or the resources needed can be acquired over time. The training can be done over time. It's just that the only disadvantage is, of course, is that it takes a lot longer time when you're doing the phase-in to be finished the conversion from an old system into a new system, because you're implementing each module at a time. So even though you see this block of time is the triangle goes, sorry, the rectangle stops here and ends here. This one is probably be a lot longer. If I was to do it graphically, it would be sticking out to here because there would be, it would take just a longer time for new modules to go in one after the other. Okay, it'd be almost like implementing multiple new systems all under one big application. Right? All right, and what else do we there? So yeah, disadvantage is a long time. Again, let me copy this thing here, Control C. Down to here. All right, so let's look at this phased-in conversion in terms of the evaluation criteria. Okay, so if you're doing a phased-in approach relative to the others too, how do you think your user acceptance comfort level would be?
I think it would be in the middle of the other two because there's still some new things, but they can slowly get used to it.
Right. Okay, good. All right. And then what do you think the riskiness is of the new system if it doesn't work out to be functioning in one of the new modules? Like say relative to a direct or a plunge conversion. Okay, I'm going to say it's pretty low, okay, because you're gradually implementing each of the modules. So the risk or the damage that would be done to the business would be considered relative to the other ones as most likely would be very low. All right. And what about the cost? I think it's a low, medium, or high. Low to medium, medium to high. Right. So with the phase conversion, I would say the costs are going to be anticipated to be about medium relative to the other methodologies of your conversion. All right, and then we're looking at time. So the time it takes to implement the system. Obviously, it isn't going to be the lowest amount of time in terms of some of the other methods. So I would say that the conversion time is probably going to be a medium to high. It's definitely not low because you're doing a phased in approach. Okay. And the last one is talking about the feasibility, the extent to which the operating environment permits the type of conversion. So I'm going to put that one at high for operational feasibility. And then the last one we're looking at is the pilot conversion. Okay. So in the pilot conversion, okay, what we're doing is that we have put in a pilot. We're putting in a pilot system. Remember the last one, the last class we talked about a pilot where you would do iterations, right, with the users and with the application developers. So we would do a pilot. We would have it in for part of the time, or a part of the new system would have a pilot piece in there. And let's look at that in terms of the conversion. Implement a system in just one part of the organization, right? So we could do like one department or one division or one geographic location, okay? And then when the problems are fixed in that one area, then we can actually put the applications into the new geographic areas or into other departments inside the organization, okay? So one of the advantages, it localizes the conversion problems, right? And you can still train in a live environment, but with a small group of users. And of course, the disadvantages, a relatively longer conversion time, probably not as long as the phased in one, but it would still be longer than the direct one. And then of course, if you're going to be doing a pilot, you got to have the interfaces between the old and the new system in place in case there is any data files involved, and the data conversion would have to happen and be put back in the, would have to be available to the users in the other geographic location. All right, now let me copy this again. All right. Okay, so we're looking at the pilot. All right. So what would you say the user acceptance, the comfort level of the users would be in a new system?
Medium to high.
Medium to high. All right. Okay. What about the risk? What about the damage done to the businesses if the new system like messes up or doesn't work properly?
Pretty low since it's just a pilot.
Exactly. All right. Thank you. And then the cost, I'll help you out with a couple of these ones, but yeah, so the acceptance, usually with module, the acceptance, excuse me. Wait, we just did acceptance and riskiness. All right. Total cost involved in making the conversion. So again, if we're looking at the pilot version, the cost is going to be medium to high. Okay. It won't be the lowest, okay, because we're doing, again, it's kind of like the phased in approach, but it's most likely being done in-house. So again, that would be probably a medium to high for the total cost of the project. The conversion time. Okay, again, so we're looking at conversion. We're doing phased in approaches, or sorry, pilot approach. So we're going to be looking at a medium amount of time to do a pilot. And then the operational feasibility, the extent to which the environment permits the conversion. So it would have to be high in order for us to be able to take this approach to be doing a pilot integration, okay, or pilot implementation. All right, let's look at a couple of examples. Okay, so the first one is the slide's terrible, but you can see the words. Let's look at a couple of examples of different types of applications. And looking at the 4 different methods that we have. Let's look at these different applications and decide maybe which one would be the best suited, okay, and why. So how about a comprehensive accounting application that's consisting of 10 modules? There's a keyword in there.
That'd be the phased approach, I
Right.
would think.
What, and so support your answer. I'm only saying that because you'll have to do that next week.
Yeah. No, so because you have different components that all run together, making sure that one component is up and functioning correctly before you jump into another one is gonna support the whole training, development, getting the buy-in from the workers, and making sure that we have a system with no flaws by the end of it.
Okay, good. Now I'm going to ask this other question of everybody. Given that it's a comprehensive accounting application, like what's the risk of doing a direct or just jump right in there kind of conversion?
If it didn't work, you'd have like very, very, very thorough problems.
Yeah. Can you describe what some of them might be or identify what some of them might be?
You might not be able to keep an eye on your cash flow or salary payments or just any kind of thing to do with money.
Anything
which
to
is
do with
crucial.
accounting and money, right?
Yeah.
And not including producing your financial statements or ensuring the integrity of the financial statements, right? So if you see something that's talking about modules, I would go with the phased in approach, and for the reasons that Donna had identified. Okay, let's look at the one application producing monthly customer statements. What do you think about this one? So first of all, who's getting these statements? It says in the sentence.
So it's external.
Yeah.
And I would say that you want to run the systems at the same time. So you want to do a simultaneous.
Right. Yep. You would run a parallel system. So correct. Since you said that, would you want to support why you would want to run it parallel?
Absolutely, because we can't lose the information. If we don't run it parallel, we run the risk of the system we're moving to not actually functioning correctly, and we may lose critical information that we won't get paid by the customers, and customers won't get their invoices.
Right. Yep. Okay. Excellent. All right. Let's look at a third one: a corporate-wide order entry system. So if it's a corporate-wide order entry system, by the way, for each of these items, if you're uncertain, there's not a lot of information here. Corporate-wide order entry system. All right. So you may need to write down some assumptions to fit your answer. I think you know what I mean by that. All right. So make sure that if you're going to make a comment or you're going to pick one of these, you make the assumptions that will fit to justify your answer. So, I mean, you can't change the context. It says a corporate-wide order entry system. So you can't say, oh, it's a CRM. It says it's an order entry system, but maybe one of the assumptions is that it's in multiple locations or we have many branches, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's assume that it was multiple locations and it's a corporate wide order entry system. What might be one of the conversion methods that would be most appropriate for this kind of an application? Right, so remember we
I
talked
would-
about, go ahead.
I use Pilot.
Okay, perfect. You're gonna sit in this chair instead of in that one. All right. So yeah, so pilot, and again, so we're looking at a pilot. We would want to do a pilot here for a corporate wide order entry system because we can test the order entry system like in one division or in one department and try it out for a while and see how it's working. If there's any bugs in there, then we can work them out, and then we can start rolling it out into other departments or other geographic locations for our order entry system. All right. This one is important to you guys. A grade reporting application at St. Mary's University. So who's getting these reports? You are. Would you want to get a report that had like the incorrect grade or it miscalculated your GPA by like half? How about if I said the university was going to develop the application themselves? What might you do if you were the person in charge of at the registrar and the university was going to develop this application? What approach might you take with your conversion?
Would you want it to be parallel, like Donna mentioned, because you don't want to lose the important data that you already have?
Yep, excellent. All right, thanks, Maria. All right, and then the last one, the purchasing system at each of the 8 regional offices of a firm. What approach might you take?
Maybe pilot again, see how it works at one office, and then fix any bugs that come up before you put them
Yep.
off to the other 7.
Yep, pilot is the one that I would choose as well. All right, good. Okay, oh my God, look, there's no more slides. What does that mean? It's only 4:53. What should we do? Does anybody want to go out and do some group work?
It didn't sound like anybody wanted to be here.
Well, I was saying that because I'm like, you know, hard times, sometimes it's hard to get some participation. So I was like, hey, I bet you'll answer this question.
Yeah.
Uh, the only one who did was yourself and Musa. So maybe the other 18 people do want to do some group work.
I think the no answer was like, nobody say a word and maybe we won't do it.
All right, I could choose to do that, but I also am, my energy level is pretty low as well, like yours. We're suffering too. I'm not sure to the extent that you are, but you know, it's always the end of semesters, a lot of work for the profs, but more, yes, I agree, more for the students because you've got a lot more at stake. All right. So anyways, given that, what I will say now is that we're going to meet back on Wednesday. I may have a few odds and sods that I'm going to cover. I hope you know what I mean by that. A few odds and sods that we might not have emphasized as much during the semester. And I'm sure I don't need you to, I don't need to spell out why I might do that. And then the other thing, of course, what I will do is I will talk about the final exam. I'll tell you about the layout. I'll tell you about the content, and when I say content, like the topics, and I'll let you know what it is that you should be preparing for, and maybe help you come up with some sort of a study plan in terms of the content for the course. The one thing right now that it looks like to me is that it's not fully comprehensive. I see maybe one or two little topics there from the first half, but most of this final exam is going to be focused on these last few chapters for the most part. Okay. All right. Are there any questions before we say good day or goodbye?
Excuse me, I have a quick question about SimNet.
Okay.
Hello. So what I did was I did the I know a bit more about Excel, so I did the
Okay.
actual part
So,
with the
excuse me, Mustafa, I'm going to cut you off there for a second because no one else has this question. So what I would like you to do is I'd like you to email me. Kyle had an issue right at the beginning of class with SimNet. So maybe you weren't here right at the beginning when we discussed it. So please email me your issue and then I can help you with that.
Okay.
And then everybody else can like go and do something else. Okay. You appreciate that? Okay. All right. Have a good day, everybody. And I'll see you all on Wednesday. And Mustafa, you send me an email. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank
All
you so
right.
much.
And that ends the class for Monday, December 6th. The time is 4:56 Atlantic. Bye.